Hi everybody, my name's Cindy and I craft here at Upcycled Design Lab. In today's video, I'm going to be working on some Easter decoration projects using some old book paper tinted with some different colors to make this Easter bunny garland, and also to paper mache cover some eggshells to make some Easter eggs. So if you like crafting with recycled materials, I hope you'll consider subscribing to this YouTube channel, and you can also check out my blog at www.upcycleddesignlab.com. Alright, so here's my first bunny for my bunny garland. And to start with, I just used a lot of book paper. I like to use sort of the old books after I've read them. Sometimes I don't even bother reading them, but they have a nice texture to them and they absorb a lot of the color. So I just started with this old book, and then I just experimented with some different colors. This is a green apple Kool-Aid that I used. I'm not sure how well these colors are going to turn out on my video, but I got a kind of nice array of green paper from the green apple Kool-Aid. And I also used some other Kool-Aid. I used the Tropical Punch, which gave me a nice bright dark pink. The grape flavor is a nice purple when you're done. And then I was just experimenting, so I got this sort of peach color by using one of these little squeeze bottles. It already has sweetener in it, but it doesn't turn out sticky like if you had sugar on it. Oops. Yellow is kind of hard to do, but if you have some turmeric, you can get some nice yellow color. And I'm going to do a future video with a lot of different paper dyeing experiments, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here. One thing I did find, it was really hard to get a blue color. I tried some blue food coloring, and it just turned out green. It just turned out green. So I was able to finally get this color. I don't know what it's going to look like on the screen. Some of it is a little bluer than others. These two pages turned out pretty nicely, at least on one side. It's still kind of a turquoise color, but I ended up using some alcohol ink on these, and that's partly why there's a little bit of, it didn't absorb as evenly as when you use the water. So I mixed this with alcohol instead of water, and got this kind of turquoise color. So those are the 6 colors I'm going to be using for my bunny garland. So I just got a template off the internet of a rabbit, and I kind of sketched over it because I didn't think it was quite fat enough and I wanted both ears to be up. But once I did that, I just traced my rabbit template onto a piece of cardboard, and you can cut it out either way. You could cut it out this way and trace around it. I think it's easier to trace on the inside, so I cut my template out this way. And then you can also kind of see how it's going to look, just in case you have really big gaps that you don't want to, where you don't have print, so you can see what your bunny's going to look out before you actually trace it. So the next step is to put the edging around the little bunny rabbit, and to do that I went ahead and I matched up some paint colors to all of my tinted colors. So you can see here I have a little bit of purple. I just did a little test spot in the corner. So I've got the orange, the green, the red, yellow, and a little dab of blue as well. So I'm going to go ahead and use a dry brush technique to put the edges around the rabbits. So this technique just takes a tiny bit of paint. So I have a dry brush here, and I'm just going to dip just a tiny bit of paint on there. And then I don't want to go very far in on the rabbit, and I'm just going to lightly brush the first one. And then as the paint comes off, I can do it a little heavier brushing around the edge, so that I'm getting just sort of a Not a terribly uniform edge, but a little darker edge around my rabbit. And if you think you have too much paint on, you can just brush it off on your blotter paper, because you can always put more on if you want to. So once you're done, you just have a little bit of darker edge on the rabbit. So here are my 6 colored bunnies with their little edges on them, and the paint's all dry now. And I decided about halfway through this project that I didn't want the rabbits to be quite so flat. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold them down the center to give them just a little bit of dimension. And then I just need to take a tiny, tiny bit of a cotton ball. I'm going to ball it up a little bit. And use my hot glue gun to just stick the tail on. So I'm just going to finish up these bunnies. I need to make one more of each color, and then I'll be ready to attach them to my garland. So here's half of my bunny garland. I actually glued these pieces on with the twine hanging on the mantle where I was going to put it, just because the twine can twist, and then you can end up gluing things in the wrong way, so they're kind of all twisted up. But basically I just took some hot glue and glued the 2 ears to the twine, and then the pieces were a little too far apart, so I am going to actually have to make a few more bunnies to finish my garland. For the second project, I'm making some little paper mache eggs, and I'm just starting with some empty eggshells that I've cleaned and washed and kind of taped back together just to make sure that I could fit the halves back together. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can see there's kind of a hole here, and I've got all kinds of cracks. I'm just going to use my hot glue gun to glue these pieces back together. I'm going to kind of lay down a bead of glue, and then I'm just going to smooth it out with the tip of my glue gun so I don't have a big ridge of glue. And I'm just going to continue working all the way around. I can fill in the holes with the glue as I need to. And I can even reinforce some of the other cracks if I feel like I need to. You don't have to get it perfectly smooth, but you do want it to be not too lumpy, because we're going to put some paper mache over the top of it. So here I'm just using the side of my glue gun to kind of heat up and flatten out the lumpiest parts of the glue. And then I'm just going to set it aside, let the glue harden, And I'm going to glue a couple more eggs together. Alright, so I have all of my eggs hot glued back together. You can see that it's not super smooth where the glue is, but I have flattened it out a little bit. And I'm also using some of my colored book paper again. I've torn it into some pretty small pieces. And I'm just going to use a small paintbrush and some Mod Podge to cover my eggs with the colored book paper. So to do this, I want to make sure I have a pretty liberal amount of Mod Podge on the egg. And then I'm just going to pick up a small piece with my brush. And I'm just going to kind of push it into the glue and make sure that I'm getting the Mod Podge on top as well. And once I have it to a place where I can't really hold on to it anymore, I have a little bottle cap here. I'm just going to set it on the bottle cap to dry, and then I'll finish off the other side once the first side dries. So I finished quite a few whole eggs with the paper mache technique, and in my next video I'm going to be making some little plastic bag chicks. So I thought it would be cute to have some half eggs for them to be coming out of. So I've just done the same technique on the two halves of the eggshell that I did not glue back together. For my last project, I'm going to make some faux Easter grass, and to do that I'm just going to use my book paper again, the green version, and I'm just going to do a little accordion fold about 1/4 of an inch back and forth all the way across the paper. And then once I have my little fan fold, I'm going to take my scissors and just trim some 1/4 inch pieces. And I'm just going to repeat that process until I have a lot of nice little grass to put all of my eggs in. Alright, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and once again, if you enjoy crafting with recycled materials, I hope you'll consider subscribing to this YouTube channel and also checking out my blog at www.upcycleddesignlab.com.